And I was doing coaching before I knew it, really, before I called it that. I suppose what combines a lot of them are the ideas and the values and the things that we highly value in Gestalt. And one of those comes into, I have 5 particular perspectives that I think summarize Gestalt very well. And one of those is interrelating. And at the heart of interrelating is deep, deep respect for the otherness of the other. So it's like, here we are, 2 people sitting talking. We have different lives, different histories, different backgrounds, different consciousnesses. And yet we're not totally disconnected. We're not totally isolated. We're in dialogue. And in the dialogue, in the meeting, something else comes about. We co-create something.
Right. You mentioned before we started recording, you mentioned the word field.
Yeah.
So you explain that. What the field is exactly? Yeah.
Well, it's exactly that we create a field.
Okay.
It's like a dance. We create a dance. We're dancing together. And if I did something very strange, or you ask a question, then it changes the dance, changes what happens in the next thing. So we're improvising, as free dancers do, as they dance together, and we're engaged in that at the moment. And the field is really is an attempt to talk about the entirety, the whole again, the whole of what's going on here, rather than just focusing on what's going on in your mind or what's going on in my mind, but it's focusing on the betweenness of what's going on. And if you go into any organisation, there's an organisational field. You know, the atmosphere as you go in the door is different. And well-run organisations have, the people are relating together in the comfortable ways, relaxed ways, with all of themselves present and free to say whatever they need to, and the organisation may run very well. But we also know many organisations where that isn't the case.
I think most of them don't run that way, yeah.
Where, you know, there are people who are holding back, there is people playing games, there are people putting down other people, there's conflicts and so on. And the Gestalt approach, if you were studying or working with such a group of people, would be to bring them into the now and say, what's actually happening here? What's going on? What's going on? When you said that, you looked away. What was going on there?
But you see, if you take that to organisations, say to businesses, people would be too frightened to do that a lot of the time.
Well, you have to proceed very gently and supportively, with respect. You know, you have to have the fundamental respect for the other and for their system. But nevertheless, there are always little opportunities where, and that's the skill, that's the practice, is to find the ways to bring greater awareness into whatever the system is you're looking at, or the individual. If I was working with you, then I'd be looking for opportunities to meet you in your experience in the moment.
I read somewhere quite recently that with therapy, and I'm using that in a broad term, not just about Gestalt, the most important thing is somebody actually is able to talk and they feel seen and recognised. And actually what they're talking about isn't the most important thing. They might have an issue they're trying to resolve, or a problem with their relationship, or a financial problem, or health, or whatever it is. It's the fact they can talk about it and they feel there's support there. And it just sounds like that's what you're talking about.
Yes. They feel met.
The field, it's like the two become one. That's what a field is, isn't it, really?
It is that, yes. And at the same time, of course, there is, we are 2 separate beings as well. So it's we become one, and we are also separate in our familiar habits that we bring to the occasion. our particular ways of entering into a dialogue are formed out of our life patterns and our history. So all of that is present in the field as well. And which brings me, I mean, I've mentioned these 5 perspectives and I've talked about interrelating.
Just to talk about those, I think you call them 5 aspects, I think you call them. Yeah.
5 aspects, 5 abilities,
Yeah.
5 dimensions of experience, various ways of talking about them, because they seem seminal to me.
Yeah.
So interrelating, which has, if you like, at its very basis, love, the deep respect for the other.
So, okay, talk more. So, interrelating, maybe give an example of how interrelating works.
Well, I have, in a sense, by talking about the co-created nature of it and the importance of providing a supportive field to engage. And so that there's something real happening, something that you can... So that the 2 parties go away touched by what's happened.
Right.
It's not just any old conversation. It's something that involves the whole of the 2 people. So that this is the height of interrelating. Now, of course, lots of people interrelate in less effective ways, or less. We can't have that kind of intense conversation with everybody. But we need to have it in the repertoire if we are to actually engage with the things which really matter to people. Their distress, their work problems, their life experiences which are going peculiar. So all of that comes into interrelating. It's a huge area, if you like, within Gestalt.
So it's a kind of like a deep, in simple terms, it's a deep connection between 2 people, or maybe more than 2 people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've worked a lot with groups. That's my preferred size. I work with groups of 12 people.
Okay.
And they become highly bonded. Amazing experiences where slowly, and of course it doesn't happen overnight, or it takes time to struggle with all the different ways in which people feel suspicious, or they feel afraid to be themselves, or they suppress this, or they can't respond to that in somebody else. But slowly, if there's enough honest, clear communication, supportedly, immense trust comes about. Life-changing experiences. Because people have so little opportunity to express their deep life issues in ordinary life.
Right. Yeah.
And everybody has them.
I think that's true. Everybody has many of them, yeah.
Yeah. And so Gestalt has been a personal journey for me, as well as teaching it and whatever. Probably the principal reason I've continued with it and feel very attached to it and committed and excited about it is because of the work I've done on myself, and the work goes on.
Yeah, let's talk about the other 4 abilities aspects, so we have a picture there for people.
Well,
so the interrelating was the first one you talked about.
Yes, and there's no particular order, because I present them in different orders, but the one that comes to mind next is embodying.
Okay, so that involves the body, obviously, embodying.
Absolutely. We are physical beings. We have hungers, we have desires, we have needs. And we express ourselves. We often express ourselves through our emotions. Our emotions are constantly being engaged. We cannot separate our emotions from the way that we think, which of course has been the traditional way of splitting those things. We are always breathing, and very often when we're afraid or anxious, we restrict our breathing.